Shalom, good morning, everybody, and it is Worker Wednesday here on the Working Class Chronicles channel. I am your host, Renaissance Woman, aka Ren Judah. Just want to say good morning to all of you on this wonderful Wednesday. I hope you're out here ready to carpe diem and have a good day. As always, we want you to share your stories if you want to join us to talk about hostile work environments, good work environments, or whatever. This is my channel, guys. We talk about it all. Feel free to email me at sister7@gmail.com. That's SISTAH7@gmail.com. So listen, the question, except what, Ren? What? So that that is a difficult thing to tell somebody about a hostile work environment. But I had to get to that point, and if you had told me a year ago or some years ago when I was working in different places that accepting toxic behavior, that's not what I'm saying. When I'm saying acceptance, I'm saying you focus on your locus of control. If people are choosing to engage in toxic behavior, can you stop them? You absolutely cannot. But what you can do is document. So this is why we've been talking about the jading and gray rocking, because these are strategies that you can use to extract yourself from a lot of bullshit. If I had known about the jade method and gray rocking, I think I would have operated a lot differently. And if I had known all the things that I know now, I would have done things a hell of a lot differently. But sometimes the Most High puts you through things, I believe, so that you can learn. There are some lessons that, obviously I just needed to learn the hard way, obviously, because I can think of many, just now, just saying that as I reflect back, there were instances where my initial reaction is always instant. It is always just righteous anger, righteous indignation, because it's like whenever people are acting in unethical ways, you're going to be angry. But I am reminded that constantly that the Bible tells you what James, where is that at 1:19? Be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man does not produce righteousness, the righteousness of God. So that swift anger, that swift action, if I had just slowed down and learned how to file complaints properly, if I had just slowed down, I would have been more methodical in my documenting. I wouldn't have reported so soon, because what I've come to understand now is that unless it's a major violation, you want to hold your complaints until you compile them to the point where you can establish a pattern, because they will treat each of your complaints like an incident. It's, oh well, this small incident, and there is no accumulation of events on their end. They're just treating them all like separate incidents. But once you start compiling them and you're able to bring them all forward, that's when you're going to get traction. So someone was asking me about EEOC complaints. Like, you don't go straight to the EEOC. They expect you to exhaust all of your resources. That means they expect you to file the proper complaints within your job, your organization. They expect you to go to human resources. They expect you to go the whole nine, and then they'll investigate. So, but to be clear on some of these things that you want to file complaints on, because, and we'll talk about that this week when I do the live stream for the show I have set up already. Nobody has to like you. Liking you is not a requirement of anybody that is hired. First of all, they hired you, right? So you're there, but you're not there to be liked. You're there to do a job, and that's something else. Listen, we're tribal, whether people want to admit it or not. We're tribal in a lot of ways, and we all want a sense of belonging. We want to be part of the team. And there are some instances where you go in, you're not going to be in with the in crowd. They don't like you. What you going to do about it? Acceptance. And so I know people, we throw around all these radical terms and all these things, this new age stuff people complain about. But listen, if it works, it works. And so if we're on radical acceptance right now, I know I've been talking to people who absolutely hate that term, but that is really what you're going to do. And it's radical for you because you are not naturally willing to accept this type of behavior. And you want something done immediately. But again, we go back to what can you control? And that's where I had to get acceptance about. You don't control anything. And I said it's almost like you have to go through a 12-step program of navigating a workspace. Acceptance. Whatever you fix whatever you can within your locus of control, and then the rest you give it to God because you are powerless in a lot of ways to a lot of things. You know, I would say what when I'm talking about acceptance, I'm not telling you to accept harassment, um, workplace violence. Those are things that should be reported immediately. If someone's sexually harassing you, you definitely want to report that immediately. Now, there are different forms of harassment, and some of those you're just going to have to document because it's about what you can prove as well. If you are being singled out, for example, there's disparity in how certain coworkers are able to do things, but whenever you do them, you're in trouble. So the first thing we want to acknowledge is what you're doing within the policy and procedures that your company has outlined for you. If it's not, that's not the that's not the dog you want to hunt. You don't defend bad behavior on your part. So if you broke a rule, don't start talking about what Sarah was allowed to do. Take your L and go sit down. That's one thing that I have mastered over time is I will take my L. Because guess what? You're not going to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes and you need to own them. You have to own up to your bullshit, right? And you'll say, well, that's not fair. And it makes me think of that movie, The Labyrinth, when I used to watch it growing up when I was a kid. And Sarah, she's going through the maze trying to save her brother from the Goblin King, right? And every time he just throw some bullshit in the game, right? And she'd be like, that's not fair. And he look, he told her in one scene, you say that so often. So I wonder what metric are you using? To something to that effect. And that's what it is in your workplace. You have your own code of conduct. You have your own set of morals and ethics, and you want everybody else to follow them. But that's just not how it works. So yeah, you're gonna have to get some acceptance. And I keep telling you, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to start journaling. I can tell you once I stopped being lazy and started putting pen to paper and started writing and expressing myself, I started to feel better. I started to do things that would benefit me professionally. I started seeking outside things. Made a huge impact on how I operate because one thing about it, I think you don't realize it until you start to come out of it. When you're in a toxic work environment, you spend so much time fighting and watching your body. You get into a state of hypervigilance. You're on the lookout for things all the time. And listen, and if you are still in that environment, you still are going to have to be vigilant. You're going to have to be watchful. But listen, what does the Bible tell you to do? It says to be ye watchful, and be ye also ready. And so, what do young folks like to say now? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So, if you already know that it's some bullshit going on, you're going to have to become a master. You're going to have to master your skill. You're going to have to master your job, right? Work on mastery. And that's that. I know it sounds like here we go again, unfair. But you know what? I'm never going to be mad at people making me better because that's one thing that I did when I noticed that I was being targeted. Anything that they pointed out, I took my L and I got better. When you look at it that way, you can't go wrong because hey, you're being honed and tried in the fire, and you're gonna come out as pure gold. But you got to keep your head. And guess what? You're human, and you may not do it all the time, but this is something that we really have to strive for. So, and I know a lot of you all talked about this when we were talking about relationships over here on this channel. Everybody got tired of people, go get therapy, go get therapy, tossing it around like it's just, but listen, exercise, good sleep, and therapy and journaling, those are your four cornerstones to maintaining your sanity in a toxic space. The power of the pause, we talked about that. You do not have to respond to every email that comes to your inbox immediately, especially if it pisses you off. Get up and go take your break. More than likely, I know I do it. Most of us, you probably don't even take your breaks when you're at your desk. You just keep going because you don't want to get up. You're lazy. You just got comfortable sitting there. No, start taking your 15-minute break. Go outside. You don't have to smoke. Take a walk. That's better than smoking. Get outside and get some sun. If you can't go outside, if it's raining, walk around the building. Do whatever you have to do to get up and out of that office for 15 minutes. And when you come back, unless it's something that they needed an immediate response for, then go answer it. And if it's something they need an immediate response for, still utilize the power of the pause. Get up, go use the restroom, go get a cup of water, take some deep breaths, then respond. Because keep in mind, the whole point of a lot of things are to get you upset, to get you to have that emotional response. And if you are an emotional person, everybody knows it, but you. You think you're calm and you're cool, and I don't get upset. You are. You do. Because that's why you're the only one willing to fight in most cases. A lot of people in the workspace, they will complain, but they will do nothing. So if you are the person that is filing the report, if you are the person of action, you have to get ready. You're gonna have to power up. And that's why I'm getting this workshop together. If you guys are gonna love it. Because what we do is we stop focusing on what we can't control. We start talking about and working on how we improve. And I always heard a friend of mine say that when you're a Black woman in the office, you have to be 10 times better than everybody else. I have to say I'm inclined to agree. You don't have the luxury of just being like everybody else. Because when you're like everybody else, you get in trouble. And again, we're going to have to talk. You want to talk about what's fair? It's not fair? Then you have to make a decision. Should I stay or should I go? Are you going or are you staying? And I'm not saying that from the perspective of, because I do think it's very flippant and crazy for people to say, why don't you just leave? Like they're just quitting jobs because they don't like something. However, we do have to start working on the exit strategy if that's what we decide. But if you decide, hey, I've been here, I'm close to retirement, I'm not going anywhere, then you're going to have to stay, and you're going to have to stay differently. So that's one of the things we're going to talk about, how to stay and have peace. And because once you start implementing the gray rocking strategy, once you start using the Jade method, when they see, because most of the time it's a narcissist that is picking at you. And people throw that term around so much that I hate using it. But when I look at some of the behaviors across the board, I think the internet is the reason why we have so many narcs. But listen, their whole purpose is to see you upset. People who are antagonizing and picking at you, they love the emotional response. When you stop giving it to them, they got to go get their supply from somewhere else. They have to go get that narcissistic supply from one of the scapegoats. So there are all kinds of various. You might be dealing with a dark triad personality. You may be dealing with somebody that is what do they call them? A cluster B personality. Whatever their personality disorder or defect is, guess whose problem it's not? Yours. You're not a therapist. You can't fix it. You can't help them, nor should you even want to. Your whole method should be about engaging, minimum engagement. That's it. You do what you're supposed to do, show up where you're supposed to show up, and that's it. Don't do anything extra. No additives, no preservatives. Just do what you're supposed to do. Keep it clean, streamline it, mind your own damn business. That's one of the best things you can do. So that answers the Ask Brian question for the day. That's what I mean by acceptance. I'm not telling you to tolerate anybody's bad behavior. I'm not telling you to tolerate misconduct. I'm just telling you that you want to get all your ducks in a row. You don't want to, because what happens is you get targeted as a chronic complainer. That's the other element of it. So they don't even address what you're complaining about. They don't, because you guys saw my whistleblower video. The whistleblower is not the problem. The problem is the behavior. And then the behavior, if you look at it and you follow the stream, it affects performance. It affects your ability to provide services. But that's not what's going to get addressed. What's going to get addressed is she's always complaining. He's always complaining. She always has something. Shut up. Stop giving people the best that you got. Y'all know I say all the time, and I've learned to stop being a Buzz Lightyear ass bitch for everything and everybody that doesn't deserve it. Stop going to infinity and beyond for people, places, and things that don't deserve it. Sometimes, when I worked at a botanical garden, there was a officer there. He used to always say, minimum output for minimum pay. That used to crack me up, but I truly understand that sentiment now. Just do your job. That's it. That's all. You don't have to be Anita Baker. You don't have to be in there giving them the best that you got because they don't want it. They don't care. As a matter of fact, sometimes giving them the best that you got gets thrown back in your face. I've literally had that happen, trying to be extra, trying to help Ike. You saw what happened in what Slub got to do with it when Tina tried to help Ike, right? Stop trying to help Ike. Do your job. Go home. Clock out. Go home. And that's all I got for you. Shalom.